As Taryn mentioned, I'm Desi Stark, and I'll be the moderator for 2 panels. The first one will be starting now, and the panel is Tales from the Trenches. And this is very close to my heart, and I have to say, because I've had my own businesses before, and I know how difficult it is to venture into the unknown and to kind of break those barriers and really start a business and go into the unknown and summon up the courage and be brave enough to do that. And the first panel that we'll have today consists of 3 of those really brave souls that I'd like to welcome to the podium now. And I really look forward to our discussions today with them, because we get to hear from them, from their own personal experiences, from how they started to today, pretty much. So the first one I'd like to really welcome to the podium, Brigitta Melendy from Skin City. Welcome.
Thank you.
And then we have Heidi Gibson from American Grilled Cheese Kitchen. Welcome, Heidi. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, we have Jake Wall, the co-founder of the Artful Gentleman. Thank you, Jake. Thank you to our very brave panel today. I really appreciate your time, and I'll kind of just jump right into it. I'll have a couple of questions that are general questions, and they're not specifically addressed to you, so each one of you will get to answer that same question. I think the audience and myself as well, we really want to know what really inspired you to start your own business. And at the same time, if you can maybe give us a little bit more information on what the business does, how long you've been in business, if you have employees, how many, but really, what was that need that inspired you to start your own business? And let's start with Brigitta.
Okay. So I've been in business for almost 19 years. And I started out as an administrative assistant, working at various hospitals in the city, and came to realize I was a good employee, but I never really wanted to follow the rules. Very independent, didn't believe in working 40 hours a week with 1 week of vacation and a few sick days here. So I always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit, starting little things at home, and decided to branch out and go out on my own. So a native San Franciscan, I was very comfortable here, knew a lot of people, got a lot of encouragement, and I went for it and started my business. I have a skincare salon called Skin City, Divisadero Street, same location for 19 years, and that particular neighborhood was really close to home. It was really known as the Western Addition, and it had a very rich history, and I wanted to plant myself right in the center of it, which I did. It's very different now, but still very close to home. Great area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Heidi?
My name is Heidi Gibson. I'm the commander-in-chief of the American Grilled Cheese Kitchen. And my partner and I started the business 5 years ago, almost exactly 5 years ago. We opened our first restaurant on South Park, about a block and a half from the Giants Stadium. And then we opened the second restaurant in the Mission at 20th and Harrison a year and a half ago. And as far as what got us to start it, it was a combination of kind of timing and leveraging some hobbies and personal history. So my partner, who actually is now my husband, we got married recently, and I both had been dreaming of someday owning our own business. We had been working in sort of consulting and software, sort of corporate world for many years, and had gotten to the level where we were a VP or a GM, feeling like we were running someone else's business. And through that experience, I just started getting this itch of like, why aren't I the boss? You know, if I can run your business, why can't I run my business? So I started sort of casting around for what business do I want to run. I was a little burnt out at that point on software, so my fantasies went elsewhere. And I had been, as a complete hobby, entering grilled cheese sandwich competitions for 10 years and winning them. And after the 86th person said, you should open a grilled cheese sandwich restaurant, and after the 85th time I said, oh, no way. I finally broke down, we did some modeling, ran some numbers, and we're off to the races. And here we are, 5 years later.
I think I'm getting a little hungry now. Thank you, Heidi.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome. So we do fine clothing for men and for women, and a lot of what we do is weddings. So it just comes up so often. Business is about 3 years old in its current format, and we started testing product in more of a pop-up shop style, and then opened our brick and mortar at Market and Golf in the old sewing room of the McCruskey Mattress Company. We specialize in a mix of clothing, but in particular suiting, shirting, and separates for men and for women. Because we're in San Francisco, we do like to say we are fine clothing for all and let everyone else sort of negotiate the differences there. The business is primarily custom clothing. This is really fun. I will talk only like this for the rest of the day. Primarily custom clothing. My background is not in what I do now. I never thought I would be making clothes and be, for lack of a better term, a fashion designer. I started out in internet marketing, worked in startups. Much like these guys, I mean, I think I don't treat rules as rules, but more as guidelines, and even then, I mean, come from Southern California, it's 3 or 4 cars to a yellow light, never a stop. So, those sorts of things. With that in mind, I had a business associate, someone I went to school sort of with, who just said, "What are you good at?" And I said, "Well, I've been making suits recently, and people seem to think I'm pretty good at that, but I would never do that as a job." And he said, "Well, what if we did that as a job?" And we started as one company 3 years ago, and we're a very different company now.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you all for sharing that. Really appreciate that. Now, my next question would be again to all of you. When you started your own business and you don't have that infrastructure of the business developed yet, fully developed, and you don't have a lot of staff and people to help you out, you obviously have to wear different hats and have those multiple tasks that you have to juggle on a daily basis. How do you manage that? And were you prepared at all when you started your own business to do that? And if not, how did you overcome that barrier? Let's start again with Brigitta.
Well, I think what's most important is being organized and being passionate about what it is that you want to do. If you love what you're doing, you will make your to-do list, and you will, fortunately I was actually very lucky to work in a very, very busy salon to kind of see the model first. And I saw what I liked and what I didn't like, and I was very passionate about what I was doing and still am. So for me personally, it was kind of doing a wish list. It was doing a vision board. It was just kind of looking at it, and once I eventually opened a place, which was a year after I left the other location, I had already visualized what I wanted, and it was pretty clear to me. Again, I had a lot of friends that were very supportive, so I had somebody who was good on books and somebody who was good with marketing, and and educated me, essentially. So networking was really, really important for me. And I also ended up going to an organization called WISE, which is here in San Francisco, Women's Initiative Self-Employment. And they essentially support you in developing your business plan. And that's key. If you don't have a plan, I think you're in trouble, because things come up, just as you said, and how do you juggle? So they kind of played devil's advocate. They pointed them all out. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? And you get a sense of what to expect, even though you'll still be surprised, but you still get a sense of it. And, I was ready. And so as things came up, we just kind of addressed them as we went along. I opened my business with a partner. She only lasted 6 months because there was so much juggling involved, and she just wasn't prepared, and that's okay. She went on to do other things, but I ended up being a lonely soldier in a 1,200 square foot place for about 9 months, and that was kind of scary. But eventually, you start getting regular customers, you show up whether you have customers or not, and 19 years later, still standing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I had similar experiences. I don't know if my mic is working. I project well. We were very cognizant that we were going into an industry that we had very limited experience in. My partner and I both had some experience working in restaurants, but it was from years ago, and we were well aware that we did not know how to run a restaurant, and we were not going to pretend that we knew how to run a restaurant. Also, when you're opening a retail space, there's no baby steps in. You open your doors, you know, and if you're a restaurant especially, and you get good PR, there's a line around the block, and you either fall over or you stay standing. So, you know, I would imagine you had a little bit of an opportunity to sort of trial and error and learn and grow along the way, which in a, you know, maybe a services business, you have more opportunity to do that versus a retail business. You're open and you do your best. So to prepare for that, we took classes at the Renaissance Center. We took their small business planning class. It's a 14-week class. I actually help teach that class now. I came back and helped teach the finance classes now, which is a lot of fun. We took every class we could find that was even vaguely relevant at the SBA. They've got a bunch of classes. We signed up for their free consulting programs. The term we used was that we strip mined every public resource we could find to help us and try and get educated. We also, this was 2008, and we both had been laid off from our tech jobs, so we were fortunate that we had a little free time. We both went out and promptly got jobs in restaurants of the same style that we wanted to open. We told the owners exactly what we were doing and why we wanted these jobs. And we had to knock on 20 doors before, you know, we met the right owner who got it, who realized, okay, yeah, you're going to be here for 6 months while you do your build out, but you're going to be the best employee that I've ever had because you actually want to understand how everything works and how to do it right. So we did a couple deals with them, like, okay, we're going to update all of your training materials in exchange for being able to take a copy with us as our blueprint. So that worked out really well, and we still have great relations with those people today. We found, we did a lot of trades as well because we didn't have a whole lot of cash. So we're fortunate enough to be introduced to a chef who helped us out with designing the kitchen, kind of taught us how to think about some parts of our business. You know, track every ingredient from when it comes in the door to when it walks out the door. You know, imagine what every single person does, you know, to get that sandwich to a customer. And learning to think like that was invaluable. And also key tips like put everything on wheels because a week in you're going to move everything around. But we did a trade with him. He wanted to become a consultant. We had some consulting background, so we taught him how to write consulting agreements and put together consulting packages, and he helped us with how to design a kitchen. So you can do a lot of very non-traditional things to get help from people. And it's also astonishing, and particularly in our industry, how much everyone wants to help each other. It's if you're humble and admit what you don't know, people will just come out of the woodwork to help you. It's pretty astonishing.
Great, thank you, Jake.
I like her answer. So in fairness, you know, I would say, you know, drilling it back, I think me and my business partner, hold on, let me do it like this. My business partner and I, we were just, you know, stupid enough to believe that we could do it. And I actually think, hold on, I'll do it again. I actually think that that's the most important thing that isn't always said, is no matter what, however you prepare, whatever is your strategy, whatever is your way of doing it, if it takes you 6 years of using community resources and going to the library and taking classes here, or doing this there, whatever is your preparation, you still at some point have to blindly get up and believe that you are going to make it work, and you are going to be successful, or you are going to at least be an incredibly wonderful failure. And you have to be okay with kind of being both, potentially. So that's key. Once you get over that, we live in a great city. We have a number of resources. Some of them have already been mentioned. I would say that's obviously something we all share. I've been a client of multiple city and county, state, and various other organizations. You know, we are connected through Pacific Community Ventures now because the company has grown to a level where we make sense for their network, and we now work with an advisor from PCV. Prior to that, I've been a part of the Fashion Incubator of San Francisco, which is a year-long program designed specifically to bring manufacturing of clothing, in particular, back to San Francisco. Some of you may remember when Soma wasn't a land of lofts and condos, but actually was a place where t-shirts and other garments were made. This is...
We have some technical assistance here.
All right.
There we go.
Now we're here. Maybe this will be better. With that in mind, prior to that, we've worked with local banks, and they're always good to consult with. We've worked with the San Francisco LGBT Center as well, which has a number of community resources, so you can check in with them. What's also important, I think, to note is don't get, and this is a key thing, we're all telling you organizations that have worked for us. For every organization that has worked for one of us, there's, I will tell you from me, 5 who said, no, I don't think your business makes sense, and you really should do something different. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna get a lot of people turning you away. Keep going and keep going and keep going. That's the beauty of this city. There's probably about 24 different doors to knock on just for that initial business plan class or business advisor or community group to consult with. So take the no, and then move on to the next. And mind you, if all 24 say no, then maybe you should start listening. Maybe, but even then I'm not willing to commit to that. It's been 3 years, and like I say, as we keep growing, we look to new opportunities and we look to new advisors and to new partnerships. One last thing I would say about juggling hats, though, and I think this is the most important thing, you're never going to be good at everything. So for you to thrive, for you to survive, you have to be okay with trying a lot of things, getting good at some things, getting exceptional at others, and also being strong enough to say, I am not good at that at all. And that's where, whether it be business partners, whether it be community partners, whether it be consultants, whether it be friends, whether it be family, there are a lot of people who will step in, or whether it be employees. Finally, when you suck it up as a small business and say, this just is something we have to pay for, bottom line. Whatever that case is, that I think is the hardest thing to learn and to be good with and to do it quickly. Because you can spend 6 months lingering in you being like, I can do this pretty good. And really, you're just hurting yourself in that situation.
Thank you. I think you can
Oh,
keep that.
it's just me that's effective?
Just you.
Awesome.
Well, I was going to ask you, what are some of the resources that you, all 3 of you, utilized while developing your business? But I think in one shape or form, you all answered that. So I'm going to kind of spin that around and ask you, if you were to start your business again today, start it all over again, what are some of the resources that you didn't think of using before? What are some of the advice that you can give to the audience out there if they start their own business today? Where do they go for help? Let's start with Heidi this time.
I'm trying to think of beyond who we've already mentioned. I know SF Made, I was waiting for that one to come out of your mouth, is an organization that's really helpful in the sort of manufacturing space. In the restaurant space, every industry is a little different, and so probably you're going to get, the answers are going to be a little different depending on what it is you're trying to do. And one advice I'd give to everyone is if you're moving into a new industry, is learn everything you can about that industry. Read the magazines, join whatever the group is, and go to the group meetings. So if in the restaurant industry, join the GGRA. Pay the $300 and go and get the materials. And network with other people. Go on, find chefs, online chef blog, groups and ask questions. So try to get kind of in with the in crowd in the industry you're trying to get into if you're not already in that industry. Some of the best resources we found were not necessarily local. We were able to do a lot of our financial modeling by using nationally available reports on the restaurant industry and particularly our segment of it. It's finding experts, actually. So something that can be incredibly helpful is back to know what you don't know and find help when it's not something you're good at. So it took us, took us 3 years to finally hire a bookkeeper, which we should have done 3 years earlier, but we were cheap. And so we found a bookkeeper who did nothing but restaurant industry, and that's been invaluable to us. And also freeing up our time. She now does a lot of our HR, compliance stuff, and all that tedious paperwork when you've got employees that you just can't get around. But it frees us up to think about what do those numbers mean, and what do we want to do about them, instead of spending 6 hours a week on QuickBooks.
Thank you. Jake, what are some of the lessons that you've learned?
There's a lot, and I actually think that was a really just great answer of how to look at things. And I would again just highlight that element of, and I think the QuickBooks one is like a perfect example. Like, there's so many things. This is, I think, the trouble of technology a little bit, and the internet and various other things, is there's so many like business services. Probably many of them are sponsors, and I'm sure they're amazing today. But there are so many business services that they'll get you. They'll be like $39 a month, and as a small business, you'll be like, awesome, I can do $39 a month, particularly when I put it on the credit card. And reality of it is, you still need the contractor. It is better, whether it's a restaurant business or, in my case, an apparel business. There's so many ins and outs that you need an expert in that space. So. On the other side of things, we have to do things on the cheap. So, from the learning curve, I would say you have to do things on the cheap, but you also have to invest intelligently, and you have to do that from day one. And so one of the things that I didn't do until maybe 9 months into our real fully operating business was take a step back and actually try to calculate the value of my time. And it's really hard as a small business owner to ever put value on your own time. Like, the one thing you're always the most giving of is your own time, because it's the thing that doesn't technically cost you money. You're not writing a check in the same manner. But actually value out your time. What is the value of your time? If the value of your time is $20, then guess what? Anytime you're doing something that's making more than $25 for you, it's awesome. Do it. Spend a lot of time for it, right? Or you're saving $25, fantastic. Start valuing yourself, though, early on, because it will help you make those decisions of when you need to call it and invest in someone else, or other services. With that, I'd also say, the other big learning that I wish I knew sooner is you'll always be rich on ideas, and you'll always be cash poor. So be okay with that, and figure out what it is that you're absolutely married to. Just listening to this panel, if I had to drill it down, I'm married to making really good clothes. She's married to making really good grilled cheese. And she's married to making your skin fantastic, right? Then how we deliver that is completely negotiable, right? Like, what is the baseline of what you really need to deliver? Because markets change, people change, partners leave, various things can happen, and so that flexibility will really serve you right. Our business is way different now, 3 years ago, like 3 years now, later, from when we started this. Totally different, and I love it.
Thank you. Brigitta, what would be your advice to the audience today? If you were to start all over again, where would you go for help?
I think I'd go to the same resources that we spoke of originally, SBA, Renaissance, WISE, and so forth. I also think I would have been a little bit more involved with community of people that have started small businesses to hear these stories, because so much of it is, I don't want to say fantasy, but so much of it's, it's like you said, it's in your head. And then you get in there, and it's a whole nother ballgame. Even though I have been in business for as long as I have, I do kind of feel like I have a new business, because about a year ago I decided to do some rebranding, and as a result of that, which was really interesting, I had 3 employees, and all 3 employees gave notice and left. So suddenly I had 0 employees, and all these great ideas. Looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. Initially, it was I panicked, because the industry that I'm in is based on your esthetician, your practitioner. So I lost 2/3 of my clients about a year ago. And so here it is 1 year later. And look, what I would have done different is I would have had my hands a little bit more on the pulse, meaning you have employees, you allow them to be independent. In my business, you do. But even still, you need to be monitoring everything that's kind of going on in your business, because essentially what happened is it took on a different culture. It took on a culture that it wasn't originally, and I didn't quite care for the culture. But that's because I was doing a lot of traveling, investing in family. I thought I can take a break a little bit. I've been doing this for 20-something years. You can't really take a break. And I mean, I never thought I'd be one of those people that had to show up at my business every day, but I show up at my business every day now. And so much is online that I can see every transaction. Not that I don't trust, but it's just, it's your business. This is your baby. So you need to take care of your baby. And I had a manager, and she was phenomenal, but that manager left with all our ideas. So that's actually okay now, because I hired differently. We revised our entire policy and procedures, as you guys spoke about. I hired an attorney, I got some more professionals in, and I streamlined my business so that if I do decide to travel for a month, it is structured, it is in order, and there's not very much wiggle room. And everybody understands that. Plus, everybody that I hired is over 40 now, and it's a whole different, it's a whole different reality, which was the best thing that I probably could have done. And it wasn't discriminatory. It's not like I'd hire anybody that wasn't 20 years old. It's just these 40-year-old women started coming in that were real clear, real present, and perfect. So, you know, business is better than it's ever have been. And I'm really proud to say that after losing so much, it was a year ago this month, actually. So, if it's your business, keep it your business. And when you hire people, tell them your vision, because people are going to come with their ideas too. And that's fine, but ultimately it's your business, and it should stay that way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you have to find a balance between having a vision, right, of like, our mission is to make the best grilled cheese sandwiches. At the same time, you have to be humble and realize you're going to be wrong half the time. Half of what you think is how things should be won't work, right? Or your employees might have a better way of doing something, or your customer might have some idea, or, you know, or you might just take a step back and be like, okay, my mission store is not making the numbers we want it to. And we stood back and analyzed it. Breakfast service, not profitable. People don't come. And I've let it go on for a year because I love our breakfast. It's so good. Why don't they understand, right? We make those muffins every morning, and I throw half of them away every night because we, you know, and yeah. And it's taken me a year to finally realize, like, okay, I just have to let it go. That isn't that day, you know, this isn't working in that location. We tried every marketing thing we can come up with. All right, we gotta step away from it. So, you know, my ego can't factor in. And we got to make changes for the business to thrive. I can't keep throwing away money on breakfast.
High five.
Thank you.
It's really good breakfast.
But that's like so hard to do. I mean, that's I think the key thing. One of the things I would bring up and say, I think you brought it up previously as well, both of you, is just to say, you know, I was part of another startup in different forms, and we learn from other people. And you know, there's a business that I absolutely adore, and I will not name names. I adore it, and I want it to thrive so badly. And I will say that until, you know, the team behind it can face the hard numbers sometimes and say, I love item X, but it's just not selling, so we have to cut it. Let the ego go, so to speak, and the demand for our breakfast is good, and I know it's good, and why don't they like it? And, you know, to just say it doesn't matter that much. Let's make them something that they do like, that fits, you know, so that we can be here next year and the next year after that. And who knows? It might take you, and this is the other key thing, it might take you 3 years. And then you'll introduce breakfast again, and people will be like, well, I don't know why you weren't serving breakfast for the last 3 years. And as a small business owner, let me tell you, the answer is never to go back and tell them that you did it. Just be like, I know, it just came to us, right? Like, you know, it just felt right, you know? I'm glad you like it too, right? You don't get hung up on being right anymore. You just like that you think you're right.
If you're half right, you're in good shape.
Yeah, really.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good day.
Yeah.
Now let's continue talking about your customer, your client for a little bit. Now, I'm sure you all agree with me when I say that we have a very educated, very savvy client today, very different than what it used to be. With the accessibility of technology, we all have the apps, we can check out, compare. How do each one of you cope with that, and how do you accommodate that change for your client to make those educated decisions when they're buying products and services? How do you keep your product and your service fresh and accessible so they can come to you? Brigitta?
I think it's really important to stay up on the trends, know what's going on out there, because my clients are very educated. And so, continue taking classes, read the trade magazines, see what's hot, and understand it. Be able to talk about it. We actually started doing a newsletter so that we started educating our clients. And what was so fascinating is that they give us feedback and they start educating us. So we have this wonderful dialogue. They feel empowered, we feel empowered, and it really, really works. People want to know. They want to know where that cheese came from and what's that farm like. And I mean, welcome to California. We are healthy, smart people here. That's what we do here, and we're very inquisitive, and we visit those farms. I mean, I'm that person. I would ask you, where's the cheese come from? And I would go find that farm just because.
So you would go to my Mission store, but you're not the customer that comes to my South Park store. So even within San Francisco, every neighborhood, there's little micro markets, even in the city. So my South Park store, very, very different. The South Park store are these business people. They're in, they're out. It's speed, speed, speed. It's a lot of people going to the ball game. They never want to ask about where, I don't get that conversation in the kitchen about where did this cheese come from and is it made with vegetable rennet. Mission, every day. Had to prepare a whole binder of every single ingredient with a full background in every single one because the kitchen was so overwhelmed with questions like that. So it's really interesting that,
Sure.
You're the customer in one spot, but not the other. Yeah.
Customers are interesting. They are. One of the things, and it's blunt honesty, is to say that I think we live in an inquisitive world where information is readily available. But I have to go back to when I was in college, when the internet was, a thing, but people didn't take their laptops to school with them because no one really had them. And people would actually advise you on what sites you could look at for information to reference in your papers because not all of them are trustworthy. And I bring that up to say that we're all very intelligent, but we don't always check our sources. And so I think one of the big problems in customer service these days is that you really have to realize that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And don't get too invested in the conversation with the client. Bottom line, you have a level of customer service that you need to establish. You have a level of information that you want to convey, and you need to establish that level as well, And you definitely want to engage, but be okay with pulling out too. At a certain time, you're fighting a losing battle, or you're just talking for the sake of talking, and you still have a business to run. We have an inundation of information. So the biggest thing, because we work in an industry now that is gaining in popularity, but it doesn't mean that people are doing it in the way that we are. I am classically trained. I am an apprentice-styled tailor in that instance. If we wanted to sit down together, I can make your pattern, cut and sew, do full bespoke rendering for you. There's not a lot of people who can do what I do. And in this city, the people that we work with are primarily 55 and up. Immigrants that have come to this country, used to work in Soma, have since become displaced because their services are no longer needed, and now I desperately need them back, right? But I can tell you, the customer doesn't want to know all of that. They really don't necessarily always want to discuss it. So we have really had to learn over the past set of years how to navigate that. And as trends change, the level of interest or conversation that you have will change as well. And so you have to constantly be updating your materials. The story you told 9 months ago may not be the story that you'll tell 9 months from now in particular, because people, new dietary restrictions come about. I guess someone's allergic to cinnamon now. It'll be a thing. You'll be like, are you allergic to cinnamon's a thing? Is there cinnamon in your clothes? People come up with the weirdest things. And it just happens, whether it's a dietary restriction, whether it's an allergy, whether it's a love for a way certain things are manufactured, and you have to be receptive to that. You also have to be okay with not delivering on it. That's the other part that I think a lot of people don't say, is just to say, no, we don't offer that service. Be okay with telling someone, we're not your business. Like, I don't dislike you. It's not personal. We're just not for you. Like, let's call it on a handshake. So it's the weirdest thing. As small business owners, I think that you struggle with saying no and figuring out the polite way of saying it. But I would slip that in as a key learning.
Great.
Especially those early days when you're cash poor,
Yes.
and you're really scared about, is
Right.
this going to work? You want to say yes to every single thing, but you run the risk of just getting pulled in every direction, doing a lot of unprofitable things, sending yourself off down some course that isn't gonna pan out in the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love how passionate you all three of you are. That's great. Now I'll ask a specific question to each one of you, and we'll start with Jake. I have to ask you, and I think the audience probably wants to know, are you wearing one of your creations today?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. As a fashion designer, one of the key things is, like, you always have to wear your own clothes. I mean, it really is. If you're not wearing your own clothes, it doesn't make sense. So I am absolutely wearing what we make. These pants are a complete accident. I got tired of jeans. In particular, I don't like the inseam on jeans, the way the hem is made. It's where, quite frankly, I always get a blowout because there's just too much friction. It's too much fabric for me. So I decided to make jeans for myself that were made like slacks and don't have the same seaming. And they're like the most comfortable thing in the world, I think. Like, they're like wearing denim pajamas, which sounds weird. I know, but trust me, they're super comfortable. And now I cannot keep our denim suiting, or as we like to say, our Canadian tuxes, in stock. I sell more denim than I do any other novelty fabric these days, and we love them. So, yep.
Well, you look fabulous.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to congratulate you.
Thanks.
But my question for you, Jake, is
Great.
you create clothes that are bespoke, as you said, and very custom designed to a specific body and type of person, which requires you to work very closely with your clients. How do you find your clients, or do they find you?
It's absolutely a mix. Yelp is a huge feeder for us. We are very lucky right now because what we do is something that is already in the mindset. Weddings, we are the alternative side of the aisle for you. People are accustomed to spending quite a lot of money on a wedding dress, and so now I will tell you definitively that it's, hey, you can get this custom suit and it's way cheaper than I'm gonna spend on my dress, and you're gonna wear it again because I'm never gonna wear this dress again. And it helps balance it out. So we have people who naturally come to us, and that helps. Being out in the community, being a good community partner, we do a lot for charity, and we have a lot of partnerships that we try to activate on. I think you, number one, should do that for yourself. Do not do it for the payout on the client. I don't do it because I expect any one of you to show up on my doorstep. It's nice when you do. But those little elements, you'd be surprised, we are 7 by 7. We are a small knit community. We do like to help each other out. And what's really interesting, I've also found, being close with clients, having such a close connection, is also knowing that I have to have a level I won't cross, and really putting that line. And the busier we get, the more that line adjusts in certain ways. But to say that you don't have to like me to do business with me. You have to trust me, and you have to trust the product that we provide. And that is way more important than personally liking me. I've actually had a number of clients tell me that, because again, we're so close in our proximity, particularly when I'm taking your measurements, that they don't like me, or they find me annoying, that they wouldn't enjoy spending time with me. Could I stop talking? People will say the darndest things to you. It's fine. It's great. It's great. Look at the customer this last week who said, I actually find you rather annoying, but I trust that you will always tell me your honest opinion in what I should wear, and that's why I come to you. To which I said, I appreciate that, but I really was just curious if you had thought about what socks you were going to wear with the suit, because that was the original question. You know, that's it. I mean, that's the bottom line. You know, you have to have your space there, work with them, you know, be kind, but don't try to be liked by everyone.
Right.
And don't be rude, of course, and be okay with doing business and not being necessarily liked. Be okay with yourself. People will come back to you. People will trust in what you do. You know, it helps when they like you, but as long as I like your product, you know, I will keep coming and eating your grilled cheese sandwich. The moment that I don't like your sandwich is the moment that I really won't come back to you. And so that's important, you know.
Great.
But again, your boundaries are the most important things. Know where they are, and they will change, but know them and keep up with them.
You don't have to be personal friends with your employees either.
Oh, such a good point.
Exactly.
In fact, you might not want to be. Just warning you.
Such a good point.
Now, Brigitta, I'll go to you next.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
It's a different question, specific just to you. Now, I know you've been at the same location since 1995.
Right.
And the local community plays a certain role in your life. Can you maybe talk a little bit more about that?
Right. Well, our community has changed so much. It's now called NOPA. And since the techie industry is booming the way that it is, it's a whole new influx of people coming in. In terms of our community involvement, we donate, and we donate. I donate essentially to any school, to the Shanti organization, to the UCSF oncology unit. And essentially we'll either give gift certificates, and with the various, like on the oncology unit, we'll do a couple clients pro bono per month. And these are people that are undergoing chemotherapy, radiation therapy, whatever. So we just give back, and we don't expect anything back. It's a wonderful thing just to be able to give back. Our name gets out there, and you know, you have a client, and she tells her friend, and she tells her mother, and we can't believe that you've done this. And next thing you know, which wasn't what we had expected, you start getting all these referrals just for putting yourself out in the community and not expecting anything back. I feel very, very fortunate that we are able to do that, and my staff is willing to do that. And it's just, you feel good. It's a good thing to do. I think we have kind of planted ourselves in the community as a skincare educational center, which is really fascinating. So people will come in with their products from other places, other salons, and say, what do you think about this? And then we go, you know, by ingredient, we educate them, we tell them how it affects their body, and so forth. And that costs you nothing. So we end up just having people stop by and giving us things because we give them things, I guess. It's very, very heartfelt. And I think being that we have been there so long, I mean, I'm seeing people's children now, which is just a little mind-blowing to me, adult children at that. And so, you know, we get postcards from around the world. She graduated, she's doing this. So they're almost like family, and our business is very intimate. I mean, we're not just feeding them, we are dissecting your skin in places that we won't even discuss. And that's what we do. Yeah, I mean, we have a running joke about that, but we'll keep it PG. So it's, you know, and I agree with you, you aren't really being friends with your customers, but we end up being like therapists. We get them on our beds and they start telling us everything, stuff that we really weren't hoping to hear, but you know, and then you hear the outcome, like I'm still married, or, you know, she didn't jump off the bridge, or my mother's bed. I mean, just stories. I can go on and on about this, but that's kind of heartfelt, and that's kind of the luxury of our business. So as we're doing what we do to you, we're also getting to know you, and they get to know us as well. And again, you want to be limited in what you share, but at the same time, it's a safe environment, because we hear things that just, it's amazing to me what people will share with you. And we don't really know you, but we end up knowing you very intimately. So that's actually a real big plus on our business. I like that. One neat story is when I first started, I went to YGC, which is Youth Guidance Center, to educate teens for free how to take care of their skin, proper hygiene. I just had one of those clients come back to me. So she was 16 then. She's 32 years old now. She brought her 2 children, and we always ask on every intake form, you know, how'd you hear about us? And she goes, YGC. And I went, why are you YGC? And I looked at her and I said, she goes, were you that lady that told us about pimples? I said, that would have been me. And her story was phenomenal. I mean, her story, why she was in YGC was really sad, but where she's come and just her desire to take care of herself. And so things like that make you really excited to be in business.
Great. Thank you. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
So Heidi, the last question will be for you, and it will be kind of a two-parter. You're an MIT graduate.
Yes.
And that was actually
That's an easy one.
a great surprise for me to see. But you went from being an MIT graduate and being in a software industry to opening up your own grilled cheese restaurant. And you've recently opened up a second location. You're thinking about a third location as well. How did you go from growing one location, two locations, now you're thinking about a third location? How does that growth impact your financials and your staffing decisions?
Yeah, growth is an interesting thing. So there's multiple things here. So my partner and I, when we started this business, we always had the vision of this being a small regional chain. For us, the end game was not 1, but 5 to 10 Bay Area American grilled cheese kitchens. We're still using small, local purveyors. We still know our community well. We have no interest in being did I say them out loud? With goals of 500 units across America using Wonder Bread. That was not what we wanted to do. So, our original plan was 5 units in 5 to 10 years. We'll see how this goes. We built the first one. We had originally expected to build the second one within 2 years. It took 2.5 years to when we opened the second one. And that growth was a very wrenching experience. When we went from 1 to 2, we thought we kind of had it all dialed in. We had staff that we'd trained to be managers and had them all teed up like, okay, you're going to open the next store and you're going to be the managers and we're going to implement all this new process so everything is really reliable. And then the staff all revolted because they were like, no, but we were here because it was a mom and pop and it was just us and we did things the way we wanted to do it. And now you're telling us that we have to follow these rules and everything has to be predictable. It's not what I want. Yeah, so like they all quit. And it ended up being me running one store and Nate running the other store, and then we kind of had to start all over and trying to get staff. Yeah, so we brought in a consultant and we wrote operating manuals, and it's always 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So just when we think that things are under control and our staff is being well managed and everything's running well, and we haven't had to like go in there for a week, except that we'll do like a slow drive-by every day, right? And neurotically watching the numbers, spying from afar. Just when we think it's under control, somebody quits or someone gets doored on their bicycle, or a manager steals from you or something like that. And it's another step back. And then you learn from that experience and proceed. So there's definitely still, especially with growth, this feeling of stepping off a cliff where, number 1 was very much a dizzying, I'm falling off this cliff and I don't know what's at the bottom, but I hope it works. And then number 2 was a little less scary. Number 3 is back to being scary because okay, there's only 2 of us, now there's 3 stores. How's this gonna work when the manager doesn't show up, But I actually don't work there anymore. About 6 months ago, I actually kind of stepped outside, partially because we want this thing to scale for a few reasons. Brutal honesty time was I didn't want to work in a kitchen anymore. I got a little burnout on that. I am just too micromanagery perfectionist, and I couldn't leave things alone if they weren't perfect. So I'm not the right person to be on site, recognize that. So we hired managers to do those things. I went back to software. I'm working in restaurant technology. And then I get involved in just the parts I want to do, like scouting new locations, negotiating leases, the menu and the pricing and the ingredients, the stuff I want to be doing. And Nate, my partner, is really doing all the GM work from there. And for us, we believe for us to scale, we have to be able to do that. We have to be able to get us out of the day-to-day and into advisory roles. It also, brutal honesty time, it helped for me to have a salary that wasn't dependent on the business. So just personal little diversification of, okay, well, with the money coming in from software, if we don't pay him for a year while we open number 3, we'll be fine. That's okay, Or if we have to go close a store, or something happens, we're okay. So it gives us the confidence actually to go and take bigger risks. by not having all our eggs kind of in one basket. But it's fun for me because it still gets to be sort of a hobby where I get to like do all my creativity and do all the fun stuff.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for participating today, making this a very interesting, very educational panel. We really appreciate your sharing your thoughts and your stories today. I personally wish you all good luck. I'm sure we'll see great things, amazing things from all of you in the future. Thank you.